to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We are virtual this week as I am up in the woods, and hopefully the internet cooperates.
Yes.
But this episode will probably be a little bit shorter than usual just because it's a little later and we're worried about the internet. So anyway, the biggest thing that I saw this week was that Jax Tylor has entered inpatient treatment for mental health.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Well, I saw that and I think good for him. If that's helpful, great. But the kicker that I saw was that Rachel put out a statement, and
She's been putting a lot of statements out, hasn't she?
For no reason at all. And it's one of those text on, I think she put it on her Instagram and it's in the notes app. To Jax. I'm deeply saddened to hear of Jax's mental health struggles, and I wholeheartedly support his decision to seek treatment. I pray that his news is met with the open-mindedness that mine lacked, as I faced mockery and accusations of simply being in a spa. I hope he finds the healing that I did through my own journey. This situation highlights the urgent need for mental health care and accessible treatment for reality TV stars. And then she captioned the post, wishing you a speedy recovery. Well, he's not ill with the flu.
Right. It's not going to be fixed in 3 days.
Right. And there's no reason for her to say anything. She's so Debbie Desperado to have her name out there. And it's so annoying. Sorry, but go away.
It's just weird to make it she made it about herself.
I know. Isn't that weird? Mine was met with mockery.
Right. They don't have a friendship as far as I know, so.
Right. If you cared that much, you would reach out to him and say something.
Right.
But they don't have that relationship. And then I don't know if it happened the same day or if it was a couple days apart, whatever, but Pete Davidson did too. And I feel so bad for him because I just feel like he cannot, I don't know what the right word is, but he just cannot fully be in control. I don't know, is that the right way to put it? Or of his mental health journey. It just seems like there's so many peaks and valleys, which there is, that's normal. But I just feel so bad for him because every time he goes through a harder time, it's so publicized and we know that he's going into a treatment facility, and I just feel bad for him.
Oh, I wonder what that's like when a celebrity is in one of those treatment centers and there's just regular people in there.
I don't know how. I mean, they have to make people sign NDAs, right?
Right.
But obviously some people either they don't or they break them, because we've heard quite a bit of stuff about, everything with Rachel we heard about, and we know that Pete Davidson is in immediately.
Right.
And didn't he break up with that girl that he was seeing?
Yeah, Madeline Klein. Yeah, I heard they broke up, but we almost never saw them together, so I don't know.
Yes. But and then the stuff with Ballerina Farm we kind of talked about like earlier in the week. I didn't really like look up a lot of the videos, but I felt
No, I
like
didn't.
oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't either. And I didn't really read the article. I was just seeing everybody talking about it.
I read that the girl that did that like went to their house and did the interview or whatever, like she seems to be the one that expressed concern first. And I just think
Right.
it's kind of weird, like, what were your intentions going for the interview in the first place?
Right. Like, did she see that this girl used to be a professional ballet dancer and then was like, and then saw all her content, was like, I wonder what's actually going on there.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of weird. And then, like, what did I read? Like, it must have just been some excerpts from the interview, but it kind of seemed like she was blatantly like, I tried to talk to her alone, and like the husband wouldn't really give me the chance. So
Right.
she was like blatantly saying like something weird is going on. And I feel like that's just a really big accusation to put upon people.
Well, it's just like frustrating because unless Valerie, I don't know, I think her name's, is her name Hannah or something? I thought,
Honestly, I don't know.
can't remember. Well, if Ballerina Farm, unless she actually says herself that she's miserable and hates her life, it's like just because her life and her womanhood looks different than yours doesn't mean she's in complete misery.
Right. And it's just like you're jumping to conclusions. And then so many people online just, they were literally like making a petition practically. Like, we have to save her. Like, from
You know, it's
what?
like, right, like you're gonna take her away from all her children.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I did think that the part where she like competed in that pageant like shortly after giving birth was a little extreme, but was that herself being extreme? Like, I don't
Right.
feel like it would be very weird if a partner like pushed someone else to do that.
Right.
And I mean, she probably just like really wanted to do the pageant.
Right.
I don't know. But I feel like it's kind of died down online too. It like was literally a fire of like people freaking out, and now it's just like, do people even care anymore?
Well, it's like one of those things, almost like the Britney Spears thing. It's like now that we know, there's not really anything we can do. I
Yeah,
mean, other than give them support, I guess. Oh,
yeah, so true. I don't know. That was just weird. And I'd never heard of like they have a business, right? Like, I've never even heard of it.
me either. I don't
But
really watch that type of like content all that much
me either.
because it just seems like I just feel like it's has to be so much work for them to make that kind of content. And I just like feel bad that they have to put in all that work into their content.
I know. I listened to Juicy Scoop to on Tuesday, and Heather McDonald was like, "I'm convinced that all these tradwives actually have people that come in and film stuff, and they're not there doing it all themselves because it's just so like extravagant, like the setups they'll have or how they're dressed and all this, the different steps to their recipes and like all this stuff."
You know, like they're not just like waking up and they're in their sweatpants. Like they always look
Yeah.
really nice. And then it's like, well, they probably also have nannies because when you're doing that kind of content, it is so much work. And
Oh
it's
my
like if they
god.
have little ones, somebody's got to be helping them.
Right. It's such a catch 22 though, because like you said, just because like her version of femininity or like what it means to be a wife, just because it's not what somebody else's is doesn't mean that it's wrong. But it also is like from like on the other side of it, it's like sometimes when you watch that content, you're like, oh God, now I feel kind of bad about myself because I'm not doing these things. Or like I have such a different lifestyle. Even if you don't even want that lifestyle, it's like watching everything with like Nara Smith. Like I would watch those videos and be like, oh my God, like they're so beautiful and their kids are so beautiful. And she has all this time in the kitchen and that's so amazing. Like I'll never have that life.
But it's also like they're just portraying like this stay-at-home mom who makes everything from scratch when in reality they're working. They're not actually they're working from home, but they're still working. So
Yeah.
they are working mothers.
But that's what's so weird is like the whole thing is like an illusion.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know. It's weird. It's just like this weird like type of person that social media has created where they're not even really tradwives because yeah, their job is social media.
Right. And then it's like it almost feels like they're just trying to keep up with each other and like copying
Mhm.
each other. And it's like it's so easy to make a video that looks like you're cooking when again, like you could have people that were doing the cooking for you or like setting up the stuff for you. Or is there even like a finished product that's good?
Right, like what does it taste like?
It'll probably taste like garbage. And they just throw it in the trash when they're done
It just looks
or
really
give it to
pretty.
all their animals. Yeah. It's just a piece of cardboard or like that foam cake stuff, and they just put frosting over it.
That's funny. I mean, we'll never know.
Nope.
Um, I
It's
don't
so
know.
weird that we were talking about Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, and then all of a
I
sudden,
know.
which I guess like that makes sense because I guess I didn't put two and two together when he was on that Bad Friends podcast that he's like doing press because they didn't.
Did
I
he
don't
talk
remember
about
him
it?
really even talking about it. But then I'm like, oh, I guess that's why he was on the podcast.
That's so weird though. Like there wasn't any. I mean, not that I listened to Jelly Roll on my own, but like there wasn't any hype that I knew of. And then all of a sudden they're like, it took us 4 years to do this. I'm like, what the heck?
I know. But that music video was so, like, sad. Well, that's what actually,
Yeah,
it's so annoying with, headlines because they're like, they do a pregnancy announcement, and it's like, that's what they put as, like, headlines, like, the press, and then it turns out it wasn't that at all, and it's like, what could have been?
I know. When I saw that, like I didn't think like she would be that far along cuz like her belly was pretty big. But just the way that they had so many of the stills that were circulating
Yeah,
everywhere. I'm like, is this like they're saying that they are pregnant, but like she isn't that far along? Like what is going on?
I know, because it is still kinda unclear.
Yeah, it is. It's still like,
I
wait,
know.
well, are you just
And,
leaving
like
the hints?
And then, like, the way with celebrities are now where they're, like, hiding their pregnancies all the time, it's like, she coulda totally fully had a kid, and then when
Right,
I
and
was
we
like
wouldn't
to
even
you,
know.
I was l right, and when I was like to you, "Well, she was just at the white party and she didn't have a belly," and then you're like, "Well, maybe this was after the fact and they have this whole baby and we didn't even know."
I know, we wouldn't even know. It's kind of, like, emotional, though. I mean, obviously, if they really are pregnant or if they really did have a baby, that is totally emotional. But because we know that they did have, like, the miscarriage and stuff, like, it's even
Right.
more like, "Oh," like, it's so sad.
I know, and what a cathartic thing that must have been for them.
Yeah. Well, that made me feel like they're they're in a good place.
Yeah, it seems that way. It's still, like, unclear, though, like, if they're together, and then I saw, those pictures too where they were out at a
Mhm.
restaurant, and it's like, okay, so they're together at the restaurant, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
Right, and I'm there, like, trying to see, like, okay, is she wearing the ring? Does she still have it? Is I can't see her hand. What's going on? Because 'Cause they've
I
never
wanna
really
know.
said. Yeah, like, we don't know, like we said last time, I don't think we're ever gonna know the real state of their relationship ever again.
No, and then one day they'll be like, "Yeah, we got married 6 years ago." We're
Yeah,
like, "What?"
and we had 2 more kids.
Yeah, yeah. I know, I don't know. I want more, though.
Me too. The little the that but I think that's why the video kinda caused such a stir because we are craving more from them, and we want this to
I
be
know,
real life because we don't know about their relationship anymore.
right. And it's like they didn't have to use her as, like, the actress in the video, but they did.
Like, what does it mean?
What does it all mean? We might have to know.
I know. Did you see the trailers and the previews for that new movie, Trap?
Yes.
What do you think?
I don't know, cause there was, like, a really long, trailer for, um or when we went and saw Twisters,
Mhm.
and I almost thought they, like and maybe it's supposed to be that way, but I almost felt like they gave away the whole plot in the
I thought
trailer,
that
like, maybe
too.
he's the Sorry, you cut out a little. What'd you say?
Just said I thought that too.
I know, and I don't know if you're supposed to know that the whole time anyway,
Yeah.
like, that he might be, like, the bad guy they're looking for, and you're supposed to just know that, like, as the movie starts, but I'm like, "I hope that's not actually the twist because
Yeah.
we
We
know it."
already know. I know. I felt that way because I feel like it was like 2 months ago. They had that really long ad on Snapchat. And like
Mhm.
I would watch Heidi and Spencer's stories like when I was getting ready in the morning and stuff. And sometimes I would just like let it play because I didn't want to tap through it, whatever. And I was intrigued by it. And it was so long. And then it gave up like that he was the one that actually they were looking for. And I'm like, hold on a second. Um, am I watching the whole movie or like what's the point of going to the theater now? I feel like trailers do that more frequently and it's really annoying.
I know, it's like I know I haven't watched, like, very many trailers these days. Like I used to love watching them, but now I'm like, no, I don't want to know anything. And then
Yeah,
it's like when you're on TikTok, it's just like skip past it because I don't want to know anything now if I actually plan on seeing the movie.
right. And I guess I don't really understand. I'm sure that they have their own reasoning for everything, but it's like how would that be helpful? Like, does that
Right.
make people want to see it when they know basically the entire plot?
I know. And then every once in a while you get one of those trailers where it like completely misleads you and then you
Yes.
don't want to watch it. And then when you end up watching, you're like, oh, this is totally different than I thought it was. And I like it, but I wouldn't have based on the trailer.
Yeah, it's a completely different plot than what you would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm intrigued by the movie, but it's not something that I think I would go in to see in theaters, although it's kind of like even though the movie is based on a concert, it's kind of interesting to be like kind of trapped in the theater while you're watching them be trapped at a concert. But
Right.
I don't think I would go to see it. I think I would wait.
Yeah, I would definitely wait because isn't it M. Night Shyamalan
Yeah.
too?
And he can be so, you just don't know.
I know, or like, yeah, because I just watched, or a couple months ago, watched Old, and it's
Mhm.
like I enjoyed it, but it was very like mid. I felt like for him,
Yeah.
and I'm also learning, listening to some of these podcasts, that a lot of people don't like The Visit, and I thought that was really good.
I've never seen that one.
The one where they go stay with the grandparents and then like chaos ensues.
Oh, yeah. I
I
never
really
watched it,
liked
but I
that.
remember.
I really liked that one, but a lot of people didn't. I'm like, oh, oops.
I thought I saw, like, a lot of clips from Old, but I've never seen the whole thing. And I know when you see things, like, isolated and scenes and stuff, it's different than all being together, but it almost seemed a little, like, cheesy in a way. Like, did it
It
feel that way when you
yeah.
watched?
It wasn't too bad with that when I was watching it, but I did I liked the actual concept of it, like the fear and like the exaggeration of getting old and like the
Yeah.
different ailments like getting accelerated. But I didn't think like the story played out as good as I wanted it, or like it could have, but I did I did like the concept a lot, and I really liked all the situations of the oldness. Like, I don't
Mhm.
know, it was kind of fun. And I think
Yeah.
it was like an actual good commentary movie on that
Mhm.
and like getting old and like the fear of it. And I know we had kind of talked about that a little bit with like X, the
Yeah.
movie, and it is, and like with Hugh Hefner and everything, where we're like, what is so gross and scary? Well, even The Visit kind of does that too, where it's like, why are they? I mean, they're doing scary things, but it's like also the fear is that they're old. Like, and
Yeah.
that makes it so much scarier and creepier
Yeah.
and grosser.
Yeah, and, like, then you almost have to sit with that as like, "Why am I more scared by this? Why am I grossed out by this? Like, why does the oldness make me feel this way?"
I know, cause like, oh, sorry. Cause some of it is the horror oldness, like old. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that
Are we that
is
scared?
I know, being old. I know.
Yeah. I just feel like sometimes, with M. Night Shyamalan, like, his movies have really, um original ideas, but then sometimes like the full execution just doesn't land.
No, I think because this is just my opinion, but I feel like because he always has to have like these big twists,
Mhm.
it's like he has to somehow get to the twist and it just doesn't always work.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's like with American Horror Story too. Like you think you're gonna have such a good season and you're so excited, and then it maybe starts out okay, and then the middle and the end just like are dumpster fires, and you're just like,
I know,
where were they going with this?
I know. It's like we somehow had to get to point B, but we had to hurry it up.
Yeah, yeah. We had to skip through a million other things that would have made
Mhm.
sense, but we deleted
Right.
them. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know.
But
I like how Josh Hartnett is coming back.
I know. I'm kind of loving the resurgence of some of the because we're out of actors. There's nobody left. There's no like up and coming people anymore. So we're like, let's find this guy. Or maybe the agents are available now.
Well, and because the like three young male actors that we have are so overbooked, they can't possibly do anything else.
Literally. Oh my gosh. I was literally thinking about how, like in the mid 2000s, like 2006 through like 12, when they'd have all the it girls in like the scary movies. It would always be
Yes.
like they do like this big project, like Jennifer Lawrence did Hunger Games, and then the house at the end of the street, I think it's called, came out
Uh-huh.
like right after that. So they had like all this momentum of Jennifer Lawrence. And it's like I was just watching The Uninvited and Emily Browning was in it. And that Ariel Kebble from John Tucker Must Die,
Oh,
the
yeah.
blonde.
Mhm.
Um, and just like how they just like stack these casts of like these it girls and like even the it guys too. Like prom night we talked about
Yeah.
recently. It's like we just don't have that anymore. I mean, we a little bit, I guess, like a Jenna Ortega and Mia
It just
Goth
doesn't
and
feel like it's to the same magnitude, though.
no. No, because I mean, it would be like Lucy Hale, like,
Yeah.
it just would be all these it girls and they'd be in these horror movies and that would be like the draw to them.
Mhm. And it just I mean, I don't know how long production times actually are, but for a lot of those horror movies, I think they could be made pretty quickly and easily. So they could just like kind of dabble them in while they were doing other big movies to kind of like stay busy. So you just saw
Right,
them all the time.
right. Now it's like, I don't know. We guess we have like, yeah, Sydney Sweeney and Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
That's it.
And they're two very different people for different characters.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
It's like,
speaking of just like that time period too, I saw a post. I can't remember if I sent this to you or not. I don't think I did. It was about Jesse Metcalf and his time on
yeah.
Desperate Housewives and how he was like, the hot gardener and whatever, and his shirt was off and he had like by today's standard like a average body, but it's not really
Mhm.
average because like most people don't have semi-defined abs. But like he was the biggest bombshell and his body was unbelievable. And this guy on Twitter was like, if this was today, he wouldn't even be cast in this role because he doesn't have a full-on defined six-pack and like pecs for days. Like he if you put him up against like any other hot lead man, he'd look like an average Joe. And I just thought that was wild. Like I never even considered that, just how even like our like male standard of like hotness has even changed over the years.
No. Well, because people don't look like people anymore.
Yeah,
They just look like, I don't know, like superhumans.
I know. Well, because even when like all the Marvel movies and stuff, like when like Chris Hemsworth and whatever would be doing Thor, he'd be like, "Yeah, I was in the gym for like 7 hours a day and I went on this strict diet." Who does that? I mean, that's not even realistic.
Hmm. I know. Like we literally can't do that. I like to when the guys come out, like celebrities or whatever, come out and talk about how hard that lifestyle is. And they're like, yeah, I don't look like I did in that movie because
Mhm.
I literally can't keep this up every day.
I mean, how can you? I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, I mean, and when you see some of them, like Chris Hemsworth, for example, like he looks great, but it's almost intimidating. Like if I
I
saw a
know.
guy like that for real, I would not even know what to do.
Be like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
Yeah, like I'm scared you're gonna break me in half, first of all. And second of all, I can't even be next to you because the comparison would be terrifying.
Right? I know it's crazy.
I know. I know. Um, I also saw that they're coming out with a second and then third season of Squid Game, and I personally feel like that's really unnecessary.
I didn't watch it, but okay, so it's a script. Oh no, it's a challenge show based off of a scripted show. Is that what it is?
No, like Squid Game was the original one that the challenge show was based off of.
Oh, so there's two separate.
Yeah, so the like scripted show is basic like to explain it sounds insane based on what we just said, but the scripted show is based on a challenge show, just challenge show where you basically the last one standing in this money. And then they did a real challenge show based on the scripted version.
Ah,
I just felt like the Squid Game was such a COVID thing. And I don't know. I mean, I guess like people really liked it, but it's been like, I think 3 years they said since the first one came out. I thought it was so random that they're coming out with two more seasons. I just hate when shows do that. It's like you were good the first time. It doesn't mean that you're going to have success for the other two times.
I know. It's like, are you still gonna be able to have all the same actors? They
Yeah,
probably
and what
moved on.
right? And what's the new plot going to be? Like it just the guy goes back again and plays the game again. Okay, that
Or do
doesn't
they
really
like
interest
do
me.
right? Or is it like a whole new cast and it's like just a different thing like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, I don't know. I just saw the announcement today, which kind of surprised me, and I honestly forgot about that show. I forgot it even existed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
anyway,
never watched it.
yeah. Well, anything new over in your neck of the woods?
Well, I watched Lisa Frankenstein,
Oh yeah.
Miss Diablo Cody, who broke my heart. Just kidding. No, the more I thought about like the Jennifer's Body, Ginger Snaps thing, I'm like, I still love Jennifer's Body. And I also now I like Ginger Snaps too, but I just think it's like I had named off a couple of the similar scenes when I was talking about it, but there was like even more of them. And it was just kind of like,
No.
and like I still think they're different enough that you could still like both of them, but it's just like wild to me to see that many like things just like taken from Ginger Snaps. But anyway, with Lisa Frankenstein, I liked it. The girl, Catherine Newton, the main Lisa or whatever, she was really good. She was funny and cute and stuff. And but I was kind of thinking, I'm like, I wonder how much longer, like going forth, we can do like things based in the 80s. Because I feel
Yeah.
like it's like the millennials and Gen X and even Gen Z have like that yearning and nostalgia wanting the 80s
Mhm.
based stuff. But I just feel like if my kids and their teenagers, that'll be almost like what, like 60 years later or 50 years
Yeah.
later?
Yeah.
And it's like I just wonder if making new 80s based movies is gonna hold up anymore.
God, it'll probably move to 90s based, and then that'll be our childhood, and we'll feel
I know.
really
We'll see a
old.
bunch of them. I know. Like, I mean, I still think they'll like the classics like Breakfast Club and all that, but I just like the new stuff going forward. I'm like, I don't know how much more it
Yeah,
can sustain.
It's like a weird, like, trope too. Like, I just thinking about it, like, imagine pitching a movie with that as kind of the background. Like, how many times have production companies heard that and people thought of some type of idea, like, based in the 80s? I mean, it's we had everything with, like, Stranger Things, and it's just
Right.
like, is it tired?
Right. Or like I know that's why it's like we still care about it, like our generation and the older and Gen Z still too, but it's like I just don't see my kids like being like, oh, like I feel like they much rather watch the old stuff than the new stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and it's based set in the 80s, and it's starting to get to the point where I'm like, is this actually what the 80s looked like? Because if I'm watching like Breakfast Club or something, I'm like, this almost felt like an over the top, like what we think in our head the 80s
Yeah.
was. I mean, like the soundtrack and stuff was good, but I was just like, I mean, it was fun, but I don't know how many more 80s, unless they can do something more original than like, okay, let's make the outfits and the decor and the interior design 80s and make the soundtrack 80s. It's like, I don't know.
Well, I think that you just run the risk of it not being done well too. And it's just
Right.
like there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than a period piece that's just not well thought out. And like
Right.
you'll find that with like, I mean, not that I'm a historian or anything like that, but you hear things about movies that were set in, say, like the 18 1800s or something, and people are always like, that's not historically accurate, blah blah blah. Like there's always things that you can pick out, and it's almost hard because do you want it to be like a realistic version of that time period, or do you want it to be a dramatized version, or almost like a kitschy, like stereotypical version that maybe isn't that accurate? Like, I don't know. It's just, I think it's easy to do bad, and sometimes people don't do it super well, and
You know,
that
it's
kind
like
of
that's what I
kills it.
right. It's like that's what I picture in my head, but now it's like, is what my head is picturing even accurate? Because I wasn't even around then.
I know,
It's like, well, that looks right to me, but
I know,
actually, it might not be.
I know. Or like when you picture the 90s, like we lived through the 90s and stuff, but so often it's just like Lisa Frank everywhere. Like that, and I
Right.
know it's like Lisa Frankenstein, but like that's was much of a part of our childhood, but like that wasn't all that the 90s were,
Right.
like that isn't, we weren't all in these bright colors, and like that's not really, I don't know.
And even like though we were born in the 90s, our childhood was the early 2000s.
Yeah,
So then
yeah.
that's like a weird thing too. Like I don't really remember as much from the actual 90s because I was so young.
Yeah, and they kind of blend together too. Like the
Right.
end of the 80s blends into the beginning of the 90s, and same with every other, decade and stuff. So it's kind of like sometimes it's hard to even decipher when a movie or show is supposed to be because of that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But did you like the plot of Lisa
Yeah, I thought
Frankenstein?
it was yeah, I thought it was fun. Basically her she has like this trauma, like her mom was like they did it fun. Like it was her mom got like an intruder came in and like killed her, and then her dad ends up meeting this new woman. And so she has like a stepsister and a mom. And so then they're kind of like, well, the stepsister's nice, but then the mom is like the stepmom's kind of a villain.
Mm,
And then she's like kind of, because she went through this trauma, it's like hanging out in the graveyard and like, yearning for this one like statue of this man. And then it ends up like he comes to life. So then in the process of her like killing these like villains, she uses their parts well, actually, he kills them, but she uses their parts to like finish him because it's like he only has one arm. He doesn't have an ear because he was a statue. So it's like she's making this Frankenstein or whatever. But I didn't. The ending was fine. I don't know. And then I don't know. It was fun though because that Catherine Newton did such a good job, and she was so funny and like
Yeah.
goofy and stuff. But and on the trivia on Prime, it was talking about how I guess this is supposed to be set in the same world as Jennifer's Body, or like they're in the same world together. But I don't remember Jennifer's Body being supposed to be 80s based, so
80s.
I don't really know what that meant.
There's no way Jennifer's Body was 80s based.
I know, except for Needy's prom dress
Yeah.
looked a little
Nothing
80s.
else would give
I
you
know.
that impression.
I know. I always pictured it as like modern time, like the year it came out.
Same. Like the early
But
2000s.
yeah, so I don't know what they're in the same world. I don't know. I just feel like that was kind of like let's just throw that out there. Yeah, they're in the same world.
Yeah,
Like,
like who
okay.
said that? Like where
Like within those same, 30 years.
right. The same lifespan of a human or
Mhm.
like I don't know. Yeah. Well, it seemed like a fun movie, like just a lighthearted watch kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it, but
It
I
wasn't
don't know.
anything crazy.
No. Like I liked watching it that one time. I don't know if I'll go back and watch it anytime soon.
Yeah, not worth a rewatch.
No.
I know. I feel like Diablo Cody's an interesting one too because she really like does. I don't want to say that she doesn't do anything, but it appears that she doesn't like make movies for a really long time to the point where you literally forget about her. And then she
Right.
comes out with something and does press, and you're like, oh, wait, who are you again?
I know. And then she's always the one they throw in the press too.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, this is her."
I
Oh,
have
I
this.
forgot to say too,
Oh, yeah.
oh, sorry. Robin Williams' daughter is the director.
Oh, really?
Zelda? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think she's done a couple other things. I meant to look it up, but I didn't. But yeah, so she's the director. But then I also thought
Nice.
Diablo Cody was the director, so I don't know. It's all so confusing.
Maybe
I wonder
they
how they pick like
co-directed.
directors. I know. I'm like, how do you pick a director? Or like, do you even get to pick, or is it the production studio picks?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, me either. I was listening to that Scream podcast, and they were just for fun. They're like, 50 Shades of Grey is a true horror. So they like watched or whatever. But I guess they were saying that like when the authors get too heavily involved, it can be kind of like a bit too much, where it's like they like because of the way they make it for a book. They don't necessarily know how to make it and turn it into like the screen.
Oh,
So it's like when they are too much involved, it can kind of like not work as well. So I guess that might have been the situation on the 50 Shades of Grey
well, it
movies.
is interesting though because that's why, like, I know award shows or whatever, but when they have the awards for best adapted screenplay, best original
Mhm.
screenplay, like it is different. I mean, you have to do
Right.
a lot of changes to make it make sense from a book to a movie.
Right. It's like, how do you take this 900-page book and
Yeah,
condense it into 2 hours at most and
right.
like
And
make it
you need like more dialogue and more because you can't just in a movie you don't just have a narrator the whole time. Like you have to have
right?
interaction between the cast and stuff that sometimes you don't get in a book.
I know, and especially like I know I talked about this with the Hunger Games books to movies that it is like you don't get any of the inner thoughts of the
Yeah,
main character. So it almost does change the story quite a bit. Like it does and it doesn't, because
yeah.
we're not getting her mind thoughts,
Yeah, but if
But
you
it
didn't
is
read the books and you only saw the movies, you would have a different feeling about some stuff because you don't have that inner dialogue.
I know because like even the President Snow thing where it was from his perspective, it's like he comes across a lot like better in the movies, but when you
Yeah.
actually get to hear his like sarcastic comments and like
It's
his
like
hatred for certain characters,
horrible.
it's like, no, he's still he's not great.
Yeah.
But that's another reason I like because I was like, listening to all these audiobooks and stuff, and then I'd watch the movies sometimes really quick after, and I
Mhm.
wasn't liking the movies. And so now I've been trying like not to do that. Like I'm won't mind seeing It Ends With Us because it's been at
A
least a
while.
year since I've
Yeah,
actually listened to that. So I feel like it's gone from my memory enough that I won't like have all the nitpicks or make it feel because it always feels so rushed to me.
yeah.
So I
I
did that with the
almost
Harry Potter where oh sorry.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, when I was listening to Harry Potter and then I'd watch it, I'm like, it's so rushed.
Yeah. It's not the same.
It's I don't
I feel that when I do movie first and then book too. Like I have a really hard time getting into the book because even if I find it interesting and I really like the movie and the story, I'm just like, okay, I already know what happens. So like
I know.
it's like you need to, in my opinion, read the book first. But then, like you
Right.
said, ideally you have the space between where you kind of like forget all the little details. So you just enjoy the movie instead of being mad about stuff that isn't in there.
Right, or like when they describe a character, like if you watch the movie first too, and then you're like, go to the book, you're like, no, 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 this is supposed to
Yeah.
be Anya Taylor Joy. Like this
Yeah.
is not right. I
Right.
remember when I tried reading the Pretty Little Liars books, I'm like, wait, this is all wrong. Like the show is how I picture the characters, and this is totally different. Or Gossip Girl. I remember when I read the
Yeah.
Gossip Girl books, I'm like, no, this is all wrong.
They don't have Blair right. What the heck? It's
You're
late
like,
in
"Why
these
is she
too.
dating him?" I know.
I know. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's like a weird, there's almost like no real right way to do it because you're probably
No,
going to feel a little bit disappointed either
I
way.
know. Whichever one you got first, you probably
Yeah.
love more, and then
Yep. Yep. I know. You've been watching some of the Olympics with your
yeah, a
son,
little bit here and there, yeah.
the
I know,
future
and I sent
gymnast
you
himself,
what?
the future gymnast
I
himself.
know. I'm trying to make it manifest. But I was like, "That's gonna be you." But yeah, I know I sent you that thing with the ping pong because those are the table tennis.
Yeah.
And I was like, they would do I guess I've never actually seen somebody serve during that before, and that wind up was just so and then dink, like literally just like the tiniest dink. I'm like,
Like,
"Oh my gosh, this is
why
so
do you need
anticlimactic."
such a big wind up then?
Yeah, I'm like, "Can't you just like blop?"
Yeah.
But it was like "Boink."
It's so funny. I always
It
forget that
is.
that's a real, but then when you
I
see
know.
them, when they get going, you're like, "Oh, I can
Yeah.
see."
Well, and that's the thing too. I'm like, these people probably got bullied so bad in school, and now they're in the freaking Olympics. Like, who
I
got the
know.
last laugh now?
Right? I seriously, like, I haven't been watching a ton of it, like, I'll like, not for, like, the whole prime time or all day or whatever, but, I haven't seen a ton of the medal ceremonies, but that is what always gets me so emotional because I just, like, imagine, like, being, like, that parent that put all that time and money into your kids' training, or
Mhm.
then being that Olympian that won any of the medals and is standing up there for their country. Like it's so like huge that it's hard to even comprehend what the feeling would be like.
Right, like, you are the best of the best.
Yeah, like in the world.
I know, that'd be insane.
I know, like
How
it's
could you
just
not have a giant ego?
after that, no kidding. The one Irish swimmer, and like Ireland usually doesn't win like anything because they're just really small. But the one swimmer won gold, and he, I guess he has two other events that he's swimming in, and he was kind of just like joking and being like optimistic and jovial with the interviewer, but he's like, well, I have one and I'm going to get two more, and we've got two other events to go for. And it's like, I just feel like, why would you not have that mentality if you won gold the first time? Like, you would almost
Right,
just expect, like, well, I can do it, so I will.
right.
But
I
it's so
know,
much
it's
bigger
insane.
than just like you won a little meet at your local pool or something, you know?
Right, right.
I don't know. It's just wild. And then I keep seeing, I've been like loving on TikTok the people that'll be like, I regret to inform you that I didn't get selected for the 2024 Olympic team. And then it shows them like diving or doing gymnastics, and they're like so so bad.
Mhm.
Like it's so funny. And I don't even know, like I didn't know one person who did gymnastics that wasn't a child. Like where do people have these facilities?
I know, right? It's like, I guess you either got it or you don't at this
Yeah,
point.
I know.
I know when I was watching some of the gymnastics, I'm like, I want the pretty people to win because 'cause they're so dolled up,
I
but it's, like,
know.
not over the top, it's just pretty, and then their hair is all up in these beautiful buns, and I'm like, "Ugh, I want her to win because she has a beautiful smile."
I know. And they're just like, I don't know, I like it. And it always seems like they are really enjoying themselves, and they love their different like leotards and all that stuff. Like
Mhm.
they like to get dolled up. Like it's fun, and
Right.
it's fun to watch.
It is. I know, I love seeing the
Yeah.
fashion.
But me too. And did you see just speaking of fashion, did you see the I think it was when they did an interview, the women's gymnastics team, and they had that super cute like cropped white coat on with these white pants.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Oh my gosh, they looked adorable. Like they looked so good. Definitely look it up if you have time. Like they looked just so beautiful. Loved the
Remember
choice.
the poopy stuff we'd get to wear? I'm like,
Yes.
"Ooh, thanks."
We never
Sweatpants.
had anything cute ever.
Oh, I guess we did have that one, like, cute zip up, that
Zip
white
up
zip up.
with the embroidery, that was cute.
Yeah,
But that was pretty much it. It was sweatpants and sweatshirt, hoodie.
literally.
And we
Ooh,
all wanted it. We're like, yay.
those are the time.
I know. If now we could have gotten like a cute little warm up set, like we
I
definitely
know.
would. They have so many more options for that kind of stuff now, though. I just feel like they didn't have that back when we were.
No, they didn't. You had to, like, only get these certain things. It was dumb.
Even with our uniforms.
I know. Well, like, athleisure wasn't really a thing, or, like, it was
No, it
just kinda
wasn't.
starting,
It
like,
was
as we were
literally
graduating.
you're in sweatpants and you look frumpy and you know that you do and you're like leaning in,
You're
or
okay
you're
with it.
dressed
Yeah.
up. Yeah.
I know. Or like remember girls would wear basketball shorts all the time?
Yes. Ew. Didn't like that
That's
trend.
such a different time. The jock girls.
Yeah, no, I don't even think I owned a pair of basketball shorts.
Oh, I wasn't sporty enough.
No, I definitely, and I'm short, so it just would look dumb. I had the Sophie shorts that you would roll up like 3 times.
I know. Those
I
should come
don't
back. Those are
I
good.
know. Do they make them still?
I don't know because I remember you could go to like, I don't know, like Walmart and there'd be like 70 colors.
Yeah, you'd get them in every color.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and you'd roll those babies up until they had about a 1 inch inseam,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd go out there and play your sport.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Different time. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of other stuff going on over here.
There really wasn't a lot
Mm.
going on, I don't think, other than Blake Lively has a new hair brand out.
Yeah.
Um, but I also like shoot because I read that little like, well, I kind of like skimmed through that little link she had about like
Uh-huh.
nobody in the industry is using conditioner, which I have just recently started to see stuff like, oh, you're not supposed to use conditioner every time you wash your hair. I was like, what? Since when?
Like, I'm sorry. I can't do that. Like, I literally cannot. My hair, and maybe it's just if I used a different type of shampoo or something. But if with the shampoo that I have now that's like sulfate, paraben free, all that stuff, it just strips my hair so much. I have to put something in it to bring life back.
I know. I was like, so are we using like the leave-in
Yeah.
sprays? Are we using a cream? Like we have to use something. I can't.
Yeah.
It's way too ratty.
I know. I'll be ripping all my hair out if I brush it.
Well, then as I kept reading, did you read that article?
I didn't read it, no.
Oh, well, she has this like mask that you use instead of the conditioner. So I'm like, okay, so you're using
It's
conditioner, but
conditioner. Yeah. It's
I know
conditioner.
here I'm thinking, wait a minute, what are we doing? But I still saw that thing like you're not supposed to use conditioner every wash. I'm like,
But a mask is fine?
yeah, the mask is fine. I know. But I do want to check it out since it's just going to be at Target. But
I
like
know,
she
I was
just has,
surprised.
I know. Well, she has perfect hair anyway, and I feel like that's genetics too. Like I'm not going to
Well
use that and have Blake Lively hair.
we literally fall into the trap of I don't have any extensions when they all have these beautiful, perfect extensions that just give them that like lush look and the fullness. And I don't know many people who have that naturally. And maybe she fully does because even going back to like Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, like her hair was beautiful. But, like,
Mhm.
in those promo pics, I'm like, "I don't know, your hair's looking extra full here. What's going on?"
Or it's like buying skincare from Hailey Bieber when she has perfect skin
Yeah,
anyway.
I know.
It's like, I'm not gonna have her skin using her products.
I
Not that she has
know.
bad products, I don't know, but it's like it just feels like one of those things.
Yeah, she had
I'm
good
still
skin
not gonna look
before.
like you.
Yeah. I am also with her. I find this with all, like, hair products, like, I will spend hundreds of dollars on skincare, but I have such a hard time actually investing tons of money into like hair care. Like I'll get masks, I'll get like a UV spray or heat protectant spray or anti-frizz or whatever. But like when it comes to shampoo and conditioner, I have such a hard time buying like a little tiny bottle that costs like $12. Like I just can't do it.
I know, because it does feel like you get like if you get like the super professional brand, it's like literally 8 ounces for $48. It's
I
like, I just
know.
can't ju even though I pay that for my face wash. But, like, can shampoo goes through you go through it so quick,
So fast. I know. And
and
with
it's like,
like
I just can't.
I know. And if we were short hair girls, it might be different, but like we're not right now. So I don't really have the luxury, and my hair is thick. Like I have never had the luxury of use a quarter size amount. Like I literally will not be able to wash my hair. So my shampoo goes pretty quickly.
Right.
So I wonder what her price point will be, but it must not be anything too crazy if it's at Target, but who knows?
I know, I was still, like, unclear if it was just, like, a mask or if it was, like, the shampoo too, but again, I was just skimming
Well, then she had that
through
other
it.
one that was like I don't know what it was, but something like an all-in-one. I'm like, well, what
Mm,
kind of product is that?
right.
And like serums, and I mean, I'm intrigued.
I know, I am too. I'm definitely gonna check it out. Hey, I might even buy some, we'll see.
If the price is right, I'll pick it up when I go. I also like I saw the one thing Amanda Hirsch said. She was like, I'm glad that Blake didn't tease this for like 2 years before it actually came out. She literally started the Instagram and announced it like mere days before we get the drop.
I know I'm gonna have to go buy it, and then I can go see the movie with my Blake Lively hair. Cause she
There
knows
we
you're gonna be
go.
watching that movie, looking at her thick, lush hair, and
I know.
you're gonna be like, "Dang."
The perfect color too.
Yep.
Yeah. I wonder if it'll sell out really fast. Or
Who
if it'll
knows?
only be select targets.
It better not be. It better be at mine.
I know. I feel like your target is a pretty good target though.
Yeah. Should be there. Better be.
You never know. I know. Do you have any other topics that you wanted to bring up, or what should we wrap
Uh,
this baby up?
we should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, I'm ready to go to bed, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I had a recommendation before we go. I sent it to you, but it is the Fenty Beauty Shadow Stick. And I have been wanting a like eyeshadow stick for a while. And then I finally was looking at them in Sephora and found Rihanna's. And this one is such a pretty, I got one of the shimmery ones, but it's such a beautiful, like gold tone, and it is just perfect for summer. The consistency is like so nice, and I think it's really convenient. So I would recommend looking into those.
Nice. Well, I'm gonna recommend the Horror Virgin podcast, even though it's a different podcast than ours. But I think they really do a really good job. If they don't like love a movie, they'll still talk about it and not talk about it in like a nice way too. And like they still make their little jokes and stuff. And then they also sometimes will like have actual conversations about like something that happened in the movie or like a topic. But it's basically like Todd is the horror virgin and he doesn't watch scary movies, but then they have him. So he's like always scared of them. And it's just kind of fun. Like I just feel like it's just cool to see somebody actually get scared from these, movies and stuff.
That's a funny concept.
It is, and he's good. He's like, "No, like, that part scared me so bad," and it's just funny to hear about it, and then you're like and I think, like, because sometimes I feel like on that Scream podcast, not to be, like, overcritical of them, but it's like, they'll just, like, shred a movie to pieces sometimes, and it's like I just feel like the horror version does it a lot nicer, and, like,
Yeah.
they acknowledge that. They're like, "I totally get why other people like this movie and why it's so popular and blah, blah, blah." So, anyway,
Well,
I just like the way they do it.
sometimes I think you get a little desensitized to stuff, and the fact that he doesn't typically watch horror,
Mhm.
that like makes it a lot more genuine, his reactions and
It
critiques.
does. And it's like he doesn't actually like horror movies, like, he doesn't enjoy being scared, so it is like,
He's just
I don't
tortured
know, it's
all
just
the
fun.
time.
What? Yes,
He's
what?
just tortured all the time.
I know, literally all the time he's being tortured. Anywho.
Aw. Anyway, well, thanks guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week like normal together again. We'll talk about more of our Bravo news if there is any, and maybe both episodes of Housewives. Don't forget to follow us on socials. You know where to find us. And yeah, tell a friend and spread the word about our pod, please. Thanks for listening.
Bye.